Hi guys, welcome to our movie recap. Today, we are going to recap the film of the year 2019, titled The Mandela Effect. Before we start the recap, don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome movie recaps. The movie starts by showing Brendan, who is a video game designer, and Claire, his wife, enjoying a pleasant day at the beach with their daughter. They have a picnic together, and their daughter Sam happily goes to collect seashells. Unfortunately, while Sam is busy, her toy doll accidentally falls into the ocean. In her efforts to retrieve it, she tragically drowns. This heartbreaking incident leaves Claire and Brendan devastated. They struggle to come to terms with the loss and go through the funeral ceremony surrounded by their close family and friends, but they are still finding it difficult to accept what has happened. One day, Brendan enters Sam's room and finds Claire tidying up and organizing. Brendan can't bear to part with the memories of their daughter, so he asks Claire to pause her cleaning. Later that night, Brendan struggles to fall asleep when he hears a commotion coming from the living room. Concerned, he grabs a baseball bat and heads downstairs, thinking there might be an intruder. To his surprise, he discovers that it's his brother-in-law, Matt, who has drunk too much alcohol and can't safely drive home. During their conversation, Brendan brings up a children's book called The Berenstain Bears to Matt, asking if he remembers it. Surprisingly, Matt recalls the book. Intrigued, Brendan retrieves the book from Sam's room and shows it to Matt. To their astonishment, they notice that the title reads Berenstain Bears instead of Berenstein Bears. This small difference puzzles them both, as they distinctly remember it being spelled differently. This sparks a sense of curiosity and confusion for Brendan, leaving him wondering why the title has changed and questioning his memories. Later that night, Brendan Googles trying to confirm what he remembers. He goes down a rabbit hole and learns about the Mandela Effect, a phenomenon where a large group of people remember an event or detail differently than it occurred. While going down the rabbit hole of YouTube videos, Brendan learns the phenomenon was named after the false memory of Nelson Mandela's death in prison in the 1980s, which many people believe to be true. After discussing his discovery with Matt, who brushes it off as a mere internet conspiracy, Brendan continues his search and finds additional videos linking the phenomenon to the CERN Super Collider and the concept of a multiverse. Filled with uncertainty and a sense of despair, Brendan decides to seek help at church. There, he seeks guidance from a priest who shares that God has provided humanity with guidelines. While Brendan may not fully comprehend the purpose of existence, he is assured that he can find meaning in his own life by following the path set by God. The following day, Matt shares some information he learned with his neurologist friend. He explains that sometimes memories can become mixed up in the mind, causing false memories to arrive. However, Brendan is skeptical of what Matt is suggesting. He finds it hard to believe that a whole group of people could have their memories scrambled in the same manner. Brendan thinks that individual experiences and perceptions are unique, leading him to dismiss the idea that everyone's memories could be affected similarly. He remains unconvinced by the explanation, seeking a different understanding of the situation. While having dinner, Claire expresses concern to Brendan about his fixation with the theory and asks him to clarify his thoughts. Brendan then asks Claire if she recalls what the character known as the Monopoly Man wore on his face. Claire confidently answers that the character wore a monocle, only to be proven wrong when they examine the Monopoly game box together. They discover that the character does not wear a monocle as Claire had remembered. This revelation adds to Brendan's growing curiosity and fuels his desire to unravel the mysteries surrounding memory and perception. Brendan doubles down with his explanation, but Claire shuts it down, overwhelmed. In the days that follow, Brendan becomes increasingly immersed in his quest to validate his belief that reality is, in fact, a simulated construct. He stumbles upon information about a doctor who is actively working to demonstrate this theory. Intrigued, Brendan discovers a recorded lecture given by Dr. Rowland, where he delves into the concept of the world being a simulated simulation. As Brendan listens to the lecture, he is captivated by the evidence and arguments presented. It intensifies his conviction that there is a hidden truth behind the fabric of existence, fueling his determination to uncover the secrets of the simulated reality hypothesis. After attempts to reach out, Brendan manages to locate Dr. Rowland and eagerly seeks an opportunity to engage in further conversation about the theory. However, his efforts are met with disappointment, as Dr. Roland declines the offer to meet for coffee. The doctor explains that he is pressed for time and needs to rush to a class where he is scheduled to give a lecture. Despite this setback, Brendan remains determined to explore the theory and continues his pursuit of understanding the concept of reality as a simulation, hoping to uncover more insights on his own. Upon returning home that night, Brendan carries a heavy burden of frustration and sadness. Seeing the pain in his eyes, Claire lovingly caresses his face, and the two of them begin to express their intimacy. However, Brendan becomes preoccupied when he thinks he hears the voice of his late daughter Sam. Sensing his distraction, Claire notices the growing concern and gently suggests that Brendan should seek support and talk to someone about his experiences. She worries that he may be losing touch with reality and believes that reaching out for guidance could help him navigate these challenging emotions and perceptions. The next morning, Brendan goes to Dr. Roland's house and convinces him to give him 5 minutes to talk. Brendan asks about the Mandela Effect and associates it with his daughter's death. Roland dismisses the theory, but suggests that these inconsistencies might be the breadcrumbs left behind as minor corrections to keep the path on course. Brendan tells the doctor that he's been programming since he was 6 years old and thinks that he might be able to do something with the current reality if it is all just a simulation. Dr. Roland tells him that if reality is a simulation, it has immense processing power, more than anything they can imagine, but then states that the Mandela Effect shows that the system comes with its own set of limitations. Attempting to understand things further, Brendan asks Roland if he thought that the world was saving data when they weren't observing it. Roland agrees and tells Brendan that he believes that humanity's observation contributes to the creation of the physical world. Brendan theorizes that a computer with a processing power that was this big wouldn't need to conserve data. Roland tells Brendan that he only needed a program that instead of saving the power, would simply exploit it. Brendan would need a more powerful computer that could run the program for a long time. Pointing at the building in front of them, Roland explains that he was tasked with keeping the first quantum computer. Taking him into the building, the two head down several flights of stairs, and they get into a room where the quantum computer is located. While showing him the computer, they're interrupted by Roland's old colleague by the name of Manning, who had taken over the quantum computer program. When the man angrily asks him what he's doing, Roland asks Brendan to wait for him outside. Anxiously strolling around, Brendan waits for the doctor and asks him if the computer could work as they had theorized, to which Roland agrees, telling him that he wasn't sure what it could accomplish. Brendan remains fixed on the Mandela Effect, pondering whether it could be indicative of the subtle clues or glitches within the system. Roland confides in Brendan, revealing that despite dedicating years to this concept, and expressed himself as a bothersome bug that needed to be eradicated. Before he leaves, Roland tells his new friend that ideas are dangerous things. That night, while in bed attempting to sleep, Brendan begins to hear Sam's voice calling out for him. He heads across the hall to Sam's and sees glitches in her image in the dark. Startled, he turns on the light, but Sam's silhouette disappears. The following morning, Brendan wakes up having had a terrible dream. Getting out of the bed covered in sweat, he walks to Sam's room and is shocked to see his daughter standing there with Claire behind her, going about her day like normal. Shocked, he follows them into the bathroom, only to be met with disappointment when his daughter disappears once again. Gasping for air, Brendan tells his wife that he thinks he might be going crazy. Claire tries to calm him down, but Brendan continues to be disrupted by the occurrences. Leaving the house, Brendan makes a call to Roland, leaves a message explaining what was happening, and asks him to call him back as soon as possible. Going home, Brendan decides to write a program that utilizes procedural generation. He then begins to work out the kinks of the program, making it suitable to run by the quantum computer. That night, while attempting to sleep, he sees the door open and his daughter standing there. Telling him that she had a nightmare, Sam climbs into bed with her parents, causing Brendan to shake from the overwhelming emotion. Turning around, Brendan holds his daughter tight in his arms as he falls asleep. The following morning, Brendan awakens with the assumption that everything from the previous night was a figment of his imagination. However, his surprise mounts when he discovers Sam is seated at the dining table. Approaching his wife, who is standing in the kitchen, he inquires if she can also see Sam, to which she confirms, her expression reflecting the same bewilderment. Hurrying outside, he calls Roland, who still doesn't answer, and tells him that the simulation gave him back his daughter. Brendan realizes that the system has returned Sam to him to get him to stop his investigation. Stopping his work on the simulation, Brendan begins to simply enjoy his time with his daughter. One night, while the couple are sleeping, Claire wakes up startled and hurries outside. Finding the situation alarming, Brendan follows her and returns his confused wife to the house. The next morning, Brendan mentions the incident to her, but she tells him that she doesn't remember what happened. After making sure Claire is okay, Brendan takes Sam to school and lovingly watches her walk into class. When he returns home, he finds the place filled with smoke. His confused wife is staring outside the window and forgetting about the food she had left on the stove. Hoping to make her feel better, Brendan takes his wife and daughter to a pottery painting place. In the class, Claire has a nervous breakdown and begins to smash the glassware. Startled by her sudden outburst, Brendan takes them out of the class and offers to pay for the damage. When they arrive home, Claire begins to yell at their daughter, telling her that she shouldn't be there. After calming his wife down and telling his brother to watch them for a few minutes, Brendan goes to speak to Roland and is shocked when he finds his wife, who tells him that Roland had passed away. She tells him that the scientist had hung himself about 2 months ago. Feeling like the world was collapsing around him, Brendan goes home and continues to work on the simulation theory. Leaving a video message for his family, Brendan tells them that he is doing everything because he needs to find out the truth. The next day, Brendan covertly enters the school in an attempt to access the quantum computer, only to be intercepted by Manning. When Manning threatens to involve the police, Brendan, in a moment of desperation, tackles him, inadvertently causing him to strike his head on the ground. Shocked by his actions, Brendan seizes Manning's access card and hastily makes his way to the lower levels. Upon reaching the quantum computer, he swiftly initiates the program. Once the program is initiated, Brendan hurries out of the school and heads home, getting a call from a frightened Claire. When he finally reaches his house, he finds Claire panicking as they watch the world around them glitch until it finally goes dark. The simulation proceeds to rewrite the history of the universe, spanning millions of years, until it reaches the moment at the beach where Sam had tragically perished. As Sam ventures out to collect shells, Brendan urges her to leave her doll, George, with them, ultimately altering the course of events and saving her life.